Hello.
Hi, Grace. It works. How are you?
It's great to see you. I love your haircut and the whole
You.
whole environment behind you is so zen. I love it.
Thank you. Working on it. I really like the kind of burnt orange you have in the background. I feel like it
Thank
matches.
you.
We have like connected
Yeah,
background.
it's the color is supposed to make you feel like happier and calmer, which everyone needs in their home office for sure.
I love it. And you're in California now?
I am in California, yeah, just for a few days, but
Oh,
always
okay.
going around.
Nice. Nice. How's
How have
your week?
you been? How are you?
I'm good. Yeah. Just like redesign my website for Zenit. That was a big undertaking. Feel good about that. So now it's like, okay, take a breath
Yeah,
and then, see
cross
what
off
comes.
something off your to-do list.
Yeah.
My to-do list is so long, I can't even tell when I cross something off anymore.
Yeah. I need like this is a to-do list I will look at now, and then this is a to-do list I will not look at now.
Yeah, I'm like, wake up, check, done.
So,
One thing done.
hey, for those who have joined, go ahead and drop in the comments as we get started. One thing you've done for your self-care this week. It can be something super simple.
I see my sister on here. I see a friend from Argentina.
Hi, sister. What about you, Grace? What's something you've done this week for your self-care?
What have I done for my week this week has been crazy because I just started a new job, which is exciting. But waking up at 4 a.m. is not great for my mental health.
Wow.
Because it's based in Chile time. But I think for me this morning I had the day off, so I worked out this morning, which was good to, not be sitting in front of the computer in my chair all day.
Yes, that is
Yeah.
wonderful. Wow, I am. Congrats on the new job.
Thank you. Yeah, congrats. And also,
Yeah.
exactly. How about you? What did you do this week?
Um, what did I do? I've been, I don't know, what have I done? Oh, I started my garden back up.
That's
Like, yeah,
exciting.
today I planted some things. So that's been good because over the past year, I have a little garden, but I planted stuff last spring and summer, and then I just let it go to disarray. I lost my motivation. And it got pretty gnarly, so I cleaned it up like a couple weekends ago, and now I'm just planting.
Congrats. That's a big achievement because this plant right here, like my plants basically die every time I leave, and then I come back and just like pray that they come back alive, and they do for a week, and then I leave again. So it's not a great relationship.
Well, it's resilient.
Yeah, but good for you in the garden. I love that. That's something I aspire to do one day.
Yeah, it feels good to get that back up and going, and just to like
Yeah,
use it as another reason to step outside.
definitely, for sure.
Well, so folks, you can drop something you did for your self-care in the comments, and I'll just kind of kick us off. So this is our fifth Zenspiration Talk. Um,
Woohoo.
yeah, I've been really enjoying these. It's been a lot of fun to connect directly with people in the Zenit community and like hear all the amazing, learnings and wisdom from y'all. So Zenit my name's Alina. I'm founder of Zenit, a radical wellness company. And our mission is to make wellness accessible to everyone. So I make customized wellness and healing journals that are designed to make it easier for us to actually journal and gain the mental health and wellness benefits from it. So I launched these Zenspiration Talks to really bring in, connect with people, bring in the wisdom from the community, to elevate folks in the community and to, offer more inspiration to people who listen in. So last week we had Tracy Rogers, who's an astrologer, life coach, and activist. That was a dope conversation. We got really deep. Talking about healing and liberation. So that's on my IGTV series. And then this week we have Grace Rector, who I've been really blessed to get to know.
Me too.
And yes, Thank you. Grace, do you want to introduce yourself in a way that is
Yeah.
you?
Well, I'm very grateful to know Alina. We met, I think, about a year ago, maybe, yeah, a year ago. And basically, when I first met you, when I first met Alina, I was just like, she came to talk at my workplace and shared her story, and just it was really nice and refreshing to have someone talk so honestly and vulnerably. So I always wanted to stay in touch with her, and I'm so glad that I did. But we used her journals for our work to reflect on the work we were doing in social impact. And as I got to using that one, I thought I should buy another one. And I bought a little affirmation journal and for me and my best friend, which was really cute, because you get to write your little affirmations at the top. And then I also got one. I'm probably going to screw up the name of it. I think it's like probably just the typical healing journal,
Mhm.
for everyone in my life that knows. I lost my mom, my single mom, in February 2020. And so after that happened, I wrote a lot. I wrote every day for a while, just because, no one would listen to me talk that profusely every day. So journaling just became something pretty sacred for me. And I brought all of my important journals with me. But this one is not actually a Zenit journal, but this is my OG journal, um,
Oh,
that I eventually moved into my healing journal. But basically, I would write letters to my mom in that to kind of still feel connected with her. And another thing that I'm really excited to share is I wrote a book about my mom, called The Rector Girls, which was basically about our life. And the reason that it even started, was because I just took all those journal entries that I wrote and wanted to preserve those memories in a tangible way, so that when I'm older, or for people that ask who my mom was, that I can share that as a piece of history. And people that read the book were like, it feels like I'm reading your journal. So I think that's a mission accomplished.
yeah. Thank you, Grace. I find that like so just like so inspiring and amazing that you did that. You know, that one, you really you use your writing as part of your healing.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds it sounds simple, like, I before I got into journaling, yeah, like people would recommend, oh yeah, like write out your thoughts journal. And it sounds simple, but it's really, it can be really tough to put what is in your head and your heart down on paper, especially when you're going through such a tough time. My condolences.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Um, so how did you like what helped you just like put that down on paper? And you said you were doing it every day. Like, how were you able to keep it up?
Yeah, well, it definitely is not easy, and I definitely have not kept it up, in a while, just because life gets crazy. But at the beginning, especially being living by myself with a recent loss that big, I needed to fill the time in a way that wasn't just, watching TV or trying to ignore it. But honestly, I think the times that I picked up the journal most were not the times that I was feeling most calm. It was usually the times I was bawling my eyes out, because I just needed to um, acknowledge that sadness, and also put it down. Because I think something that I did recently, like I've been writing in this journal since she passed away in February 2020, and usually I just keep writing. But it was interesting the other day, I actually looked back at that journal and read some of the letters I wrote to my mom at the beginning, and to see the growth. I'm still obviously really sad about it, but to see the ways that I've started to see her in my life, perhaps as a more positive thing of, I thought of you today in this beautiful way, as opposed to like, I'm just sad all the time. Um, but I think writing definitely was hard. And when I look back at all the times that I wrote the most, those are the days I just couldn't stop crying. So I think it just became a way for me to acknowledge that sadness, and to try to personify it. I think one moment that stands out to me was, I was reading a lot of grief books at the time, and in one of them, an exercise was to write and journal entry, personifying your grief. So if your grief was a person, what would they act like, talk like, look like, all that stuff. And so I remember sitting in my hammock in the backyard, just feeling so sad, but writing this long journal entry about what my grief looked like or acted like. And something that I appreciate about Zenit journals is that it comes with those built-in prompts. And so having that prompt from my other book was a really good way to center my emotions, not necessarily that they need to be contained, but sometimes when I was feeling just so overwhelmed and like the world just felt so heavy, I was like, I need some direction, so I'm not just sitting here. And I felt that having a prompt at that time was really helpful for me. So that's just a bit about how my journaling has progressed and been a part of my life.
The way you're describing it, like, you know, as journaling in those really heavy moments, like when you couldn't stop crying. This in our last live mini retreat, someone said, like, you know, crying, like, that's part of journaling. You're just, it's not words, you're crying through your tears. I thought that was so cool. Like, cry, like, tears first, then words. That's what someone said. And it made me think of that. Because it's all like, it's all part of that expression, that release, like, you know, grief, these powerful emotions. I know it's like they need to be let out, and whether that's words, tears, art, you know, movement. Glad you had like those prompts to kind of, like you said, give you that direction.
Right.
In the healing journal, has there been like a particular prompt that you found helpful, or like a kind of moment that you recall in that journal?
Well, the thing about like the reason I even got it in the first place was because of that. And I remember like looking at it on the website and I was like, do I really want a prompted journal or do I want an open one? Because then it's, you know, what if I write too much in one section, yada, yada. But I most appreciated the, like what do I want to feel more of and what could I feel less of? And the reason for that is because, like I said, when I'm really, really sad, the world just feels like so much. But again, having those prompts and like, I like that it had the positive and the negative. So it's not all just like, all right, let's channel all these emotions into something good and forget about the bad. But it was like a good way for me to acknowledge the positive and the negative at the same time. So like, for example, like I remember journaling one time and it was, you know, it was a really tough week, especially like a year, I think it was about a year after I lost my mom. So February 2021. But just, you know, I was immediately drawn to I could feel less of, like immediately I was like, I just want to write this. And I filled it out like easily. And then I looked up at the, you know, I could be feeling more of, and I was like, oh, I have to think of something good, you know? But obviously it just turned into me writing friends' names down and being like just friendship and time with friends, because I think, I mean, the pandemic is a tough time to lose someone, let alone lose someone at all. But I think one of my favorite things about journaling is something my mom practiced a lot. And if you read the book, it's all written throughout, but she really focused on gratitude and being present. Her biggest goal was to make the person she was talking to feel like the most important person in the world. But literally our license plate is grateful. It's grateful. And so she practiced gratitude journals a lot. And when she passed away, I don't tell her, but I went through some of her journals. And almost all of them were gratitude journals. And so I started practicing that too. And just any practice in journaling, I naturally find myself being like, oh, this person has just been amazing lately. And sometimes writing it down and acknowledging those people that have really helped me spurs me into action to text that person and just say, hey, just wanted to let you know that I'm thankful for you. Whereas when I don't take the time to write things down, and again, not perfect, and I don't journal as much as I want to anymore, but when I don't acknowledge that and take the time to reflect on where I am in my life, I think I miss those things and I don't identify the kind acts that my friends are doing for me. And, you know, I might think they know I'm grateful, but there's a difference of writing it down so you can look back and all those things. That's some really great things about journaling.
Yeah, I like that. How just writing it down can then like spur action. And even really, like you said, a simple act of like like a text or something, but
Yeah.
like that's how connection is built, right? It's like a lot of little things.
Yeah. But I feel like right now in the world, and I don't know if you feel this, but like I'm saying, it just seems that everything else takes precedence to sitting in silence or being by yourself. I just feel like I'm on a hamster wheel, just continually going, going, going. And I can jump off, but there's just so much incentive societally to keep going. And so when I do take that time to journal, it feels so good, but it's just hard to stay in that pattern. And so again, broke my streak, but like I think a week ago I journaled for 20 minutes first thing that I woke up every day, and that felt so good. I stopped. But I really want to make that something regular that I do. So
Yeah, I mean it's tough. You're right. Like it's hard. You know, it's not the culture in our kind of general Western modern society doesn't really it makes it hard to do
it
that.
does.
And even just like, you know, I think a lot about like internalized guilt, and it's like what does it mean to it's
Yeah.
like making the time structurally, but also like feeling like, yeah, I'm actually allowed to take the time for myself without
Yeah.
without guilt. I mean,
Well,
that's like my inspiration for Zenit. But yeah, it's like I'm in the journey too. It can be tough, and I'm not every day. I would love to be. It's, you know, up and down. Some weeks are better than others, but
yeah,
you know, it's okay. You know, it's just like it's a journey.
it really is. Yeah.
And so you took your journal entries and you made a book.
I did.
Yeah. What? Like,
Crazy.
was that the plan, or did you like what led to that decision?
No, not at all. I actually went through a lot of imposter syndrome throughout the entire writing the book process, because I was like, I'm 22. Why am I writing a book? I'm not an expert on anything. Like, who do I think I am? I dealt with that a lot, but it was actually just by chance that I had been writing a lot and writing just like my favorite memories of her. I just had this like weird sensation, like, what if I forget these things? Let me write down the most precious moments I had with her just in case I forget. And so I didn't really trust my memory at that point in grief. I was like, I can't remember where I am right now. But actually, a professor at my university, I went to Georgetown, just graduated in May. Whoop, whoop.
Yeah.
But a professor that teaches a Creator Institute class reached out to me. He teaches a Creator Institute book course every semester, and it's set up to help young people, college age or at whatever stage in your career. It's sponsored for college students, but adults pay for it. And they help you write a book about whatever you want. And he reached out to me and was like, hey, are you interested in writing a book? And I was shocked at first. And I was like, no, what book? No. But then I thought about how cathartic it was to write for me. And then I started thinking about the legacy and like, wow, how cool would it be though to publish a book that captures my mom's essence, and that captures, you know, the life that she had and the life she gave me, because people had said that to her. You should write a book. You have such a crazy life. And I was like, you should write a book, Mom. You have a crazy life. And a story I share with people is I told her once, I was like, hey, if you don't write a book, like, but by the time you die, can I write it? And she was like, well, I'm going to write it, but okay, fine. So basically I started working on the book, and it was really hard at first because I struggled with do I write what's authentic to me or what's going to be attractive to other people? I chose to stay with what's authentic to me because I was like, this is the thing I want to share with people. And it wasn't about marketing. It's not about being the #1 bestseller. It was more of an intimate thing for my family and friends. But what I do remember and what I'm grateful for is that writing the book, like, I thought I'd be scheduled and write 1 hour a night, 1 hour a night every day, right? That's what they said. And I couldn't do that because it was so emotional that I was like, I need to be in the right headspace. So what ended up happening was, I think, honestly, like, to write the first draft, I think it was 6 days not consecutively, but probably like one full day every month that I would just write from like 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. just like sobbing, crying, writing. Like it wasn't a little bit at a little bit. If I woke up and I was just feeling that like that connectedness or presence or something, I was like, I just need to write. And a story that I share with people too was I got about halfway through the book and then it was time to write about when she died. And obviously that's the hardest part for me. And so I just couldn't write it. Like I was like, how am I supposed to characterize this? How am I supposed to I was like, how would my mom want me to portray her? All this stuff. I was just like, crap, this is hard. And I'm going to start sobbing when I start writing this. So I was on a plane actually going to visit a friend, and I thought to myself, you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to do it now. Like, this is a plane. I traveled with my mom. This is the most authentic place for me to try. Wow. So on this 5-hour plane ride, I just wrote like nonstop about that time when she passed away, when I found out about her having a heart attack and I was on the other side of the country. And just that traumatic nature. But like, here I am on this plane in a window seat pressed against the guy next to me, like trying not to hit him with my computer elbow, like, you know, sobbing with a mask on and snotty. It was terrible. But I was like, you know, I think with writing, it's not something you can force. I wish it were, because, you know, it would make things easier. Like, oh, I'm going to journal now. But yeah. I think a lot of the time it's just, it kind of hits you and you're like, all right, it's time to write. And if you feel emotionally connected enough that it's going to be authentic to what you want to tell, what story you want to tell.
Wow. That is an incredible story. It feels so right, like hearing it for you to have chosen, like, I'm just going to write this in a way that's authentic to me, because for a topic that is so intimate, you know, it is your story and your mother's story. Like what it's hard to imagine it writing it another way, but then I feel like that would make it kind of more, I don't know, more intimidating to then like publish it and like put it out into the world.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing was when I was doing this whole writing thing, and I'm like, I'm writing a book. Wow, you know, imposter syndrome, all that. Like, I'm writing a book. What's happening? And then I think like the last week before I had to officially turn it in, I think they told me to read it out loud to catch any grammatical errors or things. And the first time I read it, I was like, oh, this is actually kind of good. I'm kind of impressed with myself. Good job. Because it was just me sob crying writing. And I'm like, wow, this actually flows. But then the second time I read it out loud, I was like, oh my God, people are going to read this. Like people that, you know, I can control the friends that I know that read it, but it's going to be on Amazon. Like anyone can read it. And then I just kind of had a mini freak out and I was like, oh no, anyone can access this. Anyone can read it. And that freaked me out for a second, because it is like publishing a journal. But then I think I had a really tough weekend. I think the weekend after it was on Amazon and people started reading it, because I just kept getting so many messages from people like, wow, I just was crying the whole time. You captured your mom, or like this book made me miss her even more, or like I could hear her laugh, or, you know, even the words that you used for her just are totally authentic to who she is. And so part of that made me happy, because I was like, I'm allowing those who are close to my mom to feel close to her again, to have that kind of just revisiting of their time with her. But it was also really hard for me because I published it like a year and a month after she died. And so everything was still pretty raw. And so just having her name around me times like 100 was hard. I mean, it's exciting, and still it's exciting to hear people's reactions to it, but it's, you know, it's keeping her alive, which is great. And but it's hard to keep, you know, having to just think about it and be like, damn, how great would it be if she was still around to celebrate this book with me and to just be part of this. So it's mixed feelings for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like mix of like very intense emotions. And, you know, I'm just so blown away how, you know, you wrote this like while you were in it, you were in your grief. I mean, a year
Mhm.
is not a long time. And, you know,
No.
there's, you know, the saying like grief has no timeline. It really doesn't.
Mhm.
How, like, how have you sustained yourself? How have you like kind of managed the emotions of the grief and this undertaking on top of that? Like, have you like, yeah, practiced self-care and taken care of your wellness during this process?
Probably not. But something that, again, something I critiqued in my mom was she was terrible at taking care of herself, like emotionally, physically. Like I love her to the, so much, but she was not good at taking care of herself because she was just, sorry for Jesuity, verbiage, but like she was a woman for others. She was constantly looking for, constantly, my friend from Argentina just jumped on, but uh, she was a woman for others, and so she never paid attention to herself. And if someone was like, "Are you okay?" she was like, it doesn't matter. I'm fine. And she just was not taking care of herself. So unfortunately, I think I kind of learned that practice from her. She would be like, she would tell me it's important to take care of yourself. But she didn't practice it. So it was hard for me to see that, to learn how to take the time for myself. But I think I've always been very emotional, and a practice that we had is when we were sad, we would just cry really hard for a little bit and then move on and carry on because we had stuff to do. But I think I was able to cry and all that, but I think the nature of the world, being in school, having to go through a pandemic, having to pass my classes, graduate, like that kind of all took precedent. So I think the best thing I did for my self-care was I think it was like January 2020 that I just made my New Year's resolution was to be more honest with my friends. So if they asked me how I was doing, rather than saying I'm fine, I'd be like, you know what, this week's tough, but here's what I'm doing to work on it. And I think I kind of kept that from people a little bit, just because by not being okay, it makes other people uncomfortable. If they're like, how you doing? You're like, I'm actually pretty shitty this week. They're like, oh, what do I do? What do I say? But I wanted to try being more open to my friends so that they could help me. And I think that itself is practicing self-care, by just naming my needs, even if it sounds a little needy or aggressive, because some people aren't used to people just naming their needs. But I think my mom did teach me to be able to vocalize what I need so that others can help me. But it's definitely something that I'm continuing to work on.
I love that. I hope you keep that. I mean, I think that's like we all can do more of that. It's such a habit to be like, I'm fine, I'm okay, like no matter what. But to be able to say like, yeah, I'm feeling shitty right now, or I'm not okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because we're all gonna go through those times where we're not okay. And you know, it took me going through some like, you know, really rough breakups, whatever, to actually learn like, yeah, I can actually like that's what friends are for. You're here for each other.
Yeah.
And to not be even to not be like, oh, I'm bad, let me tell you about it, but then like that's enough of me, how are you? You know, to like just allow myself to receive the support when I need it.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
that is huge for self-care for sure.
I totally do that though. I mean, I'm fine. How about you? What's up with you? Let's not. I
And I'm
definitely
continue to talk.
I've learned a lot about my friends' problems, because I'm like, let's not talk about me. Let's talk about you. You must have a problem. Come on, like.
Well, Grace, like this has been such a beautiful conversation.
Yeah.
Beautiful spirit. I'm like I can't wait to read the book myself. Um,
Yay.
it's very slowly, but I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna go through it. For like, how can folks, you know, learn more or get your book or follow you?
Yes, great question. I have an Instagram, which is the Rector Girls with is it called a underscore? Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Grammar. The Rector Girls, which is the Instagram. And then also I made it easy and made a bit.ly, so bit.ly/the Rector Girls, capitalized. The Rector Girls. Thank you. And if you just search the Rector Girls on Amazon, it should show up. But really, like I said, this book is not about, getting famous or explaining my theory of blank. Like, there's some other young people that are like, I have the answer to everything. I'm going to write a book about it. Congrats to you, but I have not gotten that kind of expertise on anything other than expertise on my life. So it really is just me kind of sharing my heart and sharing the way that I perceive things, because I didn't mention it earlier, but I think the things that stick out about me and my family, and the reason I was like, this book will be helpful and unique to people, is because I'm a sperm donor baby. My mom, her whole thing was, if life isn't happening for you, if life isn't making it happen for you, you got to go out there and make it. So when she's 43 years old and she's like, you know what, I want a baby, but there's not a man good enough for me, so I'm going to have a baby via sperm donor. And when, before I was born, she didn't have kids. She didn't really have a big extended family. And so she basically adopted or mentored these 4 kids from the middle school she worked at. And when I was born, they just were my big siblings. And I still call them my brothers and sisters. They're all 40 now. But like, she just created things. She created community. And some other feedback that some friends have shared with me after reading it is they're like, how did she sustain that kind of community? Like, I want that. And so I just hope that by sharing this book, every chapter is a different lesson that she taught me. So it's kind of like a, index for life advice from Pam Rector. It's not me trying to teach you anything, but it's me trying to share the way that she raised me to be who I am, so that other people that, single mothers or people that are looking to create an extended family or a family of love, as she called it, that they can learn that the traditional way you don't have to go the traditional way. You can create your own family. You can go totally the other way and still be happy. So that's just the goal of sharing it with people.
I love that. Yep. There's no one right path to happiness. Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Well, Grace, thank you so much for joining, for sharing your experiences, for sharing like who you are. Yes.
It was great to see you. And also, I just gotta plug this, because this is the cutest little journal ever. I got it for me and my best friend. And I remember you were like, if you want to share your favorite affirmation, I'm just gonna choose a random page, and we're gonna see what our advice of the day is. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Ooh, I like this one. I give permission to my inner goddess to work her magic.
Yes,
for
us. I love that.
I didn't make that up. It is right here. We got evidence.
I love that.
Get a little affirmation. It's $5, $10. It's worth it, and you can put it in your pocket. So that's my promo for you.
Thank you. I'm so glad you shared that. I love that affirmation. All right, so thank you all for listening in. This is going to be stay on Zenit's IGTV. I'm going to add it to YouTube and my website, so you can continue to come back and get this inspiration from Grace and our other guests. All right, I'll see you, Grace. Take care.
Take care. Bye.